Hi everyone, so in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to crochet these women's wrist warmers or fingerless gloves. So this is what they look like. They have a heart on the front, and then they have the cuff, and then they have the thumb holes on the back. So for these wrist warmers I used a 4mm crochet hook and DK weight yarn. So thank you very much for watching, and please make sure to subscribe to my channel for more crochet videos. So to begin your glove, you want to start off by making a slip knot. So to do a slip knot, take your yarn and take your finger and wrap the yarn around your finger once and then twice. You then want to take the first loop and pull it over the second loop, and then take the second loop and pull it all the way over your finger. You then want to take your crochet hook, go in through this space and pull tight. And there we have a slip knot. And now once you have your slip knot, we are now going to make our foundation chain. And we are going to chain 11. So chain 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 and 11. And now we can move on to round 1. So we're going to start off by making the cuff of our glove, and for round 1 of the cuff we're just going to do 1 single crochet into each chain, and we're going to do our first single crochet into the second chain from the hook. So here is the first chain from the hook, and here is the second chain, and you want to go down into this chain and yarn over and pull up a loop, and then yarn over and pull through both loops on your hook. So there we have 1 single crochet into that chain, and now you want to go down into the next chain and do the same thing, 1 single crochet into this one, and then go into the next chain and do 1 into this one as well, and just keep working that all the way along, 1 single crochet into each chain. So like that. So there I have come to the end of round 1. So we have done 1 single crochet into each chain, and at the end of this round you should have 10 single crochets. And now we can move on to round 2. So to begin round 2 you want to chain 1 and turn, and this chain 1 does not count as a stitch. So there we have done chain 1 and turn, and this does not count as a stitch. And now round 2 is very easy. We're just going to do 1 single crochet into each stitch. But in this round we are just going to be working into the back loop of each stitch. So we're going to be doing 1 single crochet into the back loop of every stitch. So if you have a look at our stitches, each stitch has a front loop, which is here, and then a back loop. So we have a front loop and a back loop. And usually when we crochet we go through both of these loops, but in this round we're just going to be going through the back loop of each stitch. So we're going to go down into this first stitch here, as our chain 1 did not count as a stitch, but we're just going to be going into the back loop of this stitch and do 1 single crochet. And now we're going to go into the back loop of the next stitch and do 1 single crochet into that one, and then go into the back loop of the next stitch and do 1 into that stitch, and just keep working that all the way along. So I'm going to do 1 single crochet into the back loop of that last stitch at the end. And there we have finished round 2. And by working just into that back loop, we get this ridge here. So that is going to form the ridged effect of our cuff. And now we can move on to round 3. So we are now on to round 3 of the cuff of our glove. And for the next 38 rounds, so for rounds 3 through to 40, we are just going to repeat the round that we just did, so round 2. So for each round you want to chain 1 and turn, and that chain 1 never counts as a stitch. And you then want to do 1 single crochet into the back loop of each stitch. And you should find that you have 10 single crochets in each round. So you want to do that for round 3, then 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, all the way up to round 40. And that should be 38 rounds. So we're going to move on to round 3. So chain 1 and turn. And then we're going to do 1 single crochet into the back loop of this first stitch here, and then 1 single crochet into the back loop of the next stitch, and then 1 into the next, and keep doing this. So like that. So there we have come to the end of round 3, and now we're going to chain 1 and turn and repeat that again, and just keep doing that until you reach the end of round 40. So there I have finished working all of those rounds, so I have come to the end of round 40, and this is what you should have. So this is going to form the cuff which goes around the wrist. And now before we can move on to round 1 of the body or the top of our gloves, we need to join our cuff. So here is where we finished off, and you want to go around to round 1 here, so to round 1 of the cuff, and we are going to work a slip stitch into the top of this edge here, so into the first stitch at the very edge of round 1 on the opposite side of the cuff. So insert your hook into that stitch at the edge there, the very last one, and work a slip stitch. So yarn over and pull through both loops on your hook. And there we have joined it. And now we can move on to round 1 of the top, or round 1 of the body of our glove. And we're going to sew up this section here at the very end. So to begin round 1, you want to chain 1. So to begin round 1 of the body, chain 1. And in this round, you need to work 40 single crochets around the edge of the cuff. So 40 single crochets. So we had 40 rounds in total. So we're going to work 1 single crochet into the side of each round of the cuff. So if you have a look, you can see we have 1 round here, and then we have 1 round here, and 1 here, and 1 here, and it's easy to tell where the different rounds are because of the ridges. And we're going to do 1 single crochet into the side of each round, and that will be 40 in total. So you want to go down into the side of this first round here and work 1 single crochet. And then you want to go into the side of the next round here and do 1 single crochet, and then go into the side of the next round and do 1 single crochet, and then go into the side of the next and the next, and just keep doing this all the way around. So we are working 1 single crochet into the side of each round, and that should end up being 40 single crochets. So I have just finished working that all the way around for round 1, and at the end of this round you should have 40 single crochets, and it's really important that you do have 40, so I would recommend that you go back and double check that you do. And now at the end of this round we're going to work a slip stitch into the first single crochet of the round. So here is the first single crochet of the round, and if you're not sure which stitch to go into, then you can count back 40 stitches. So count back 1, 2, 3, 4 all the way around, and then when you get to 40, that is the stitch that you need to do a slip stitch into. So go down into that stitch and yarn over and pull through both loops on your hook. So there we have finished round 1, and we're ready to move on to round 2. So to begin round 2, you want to chain 1 and turn, and this chain 1 does not count as a stitch. So we are going to start off this round by doing 1 single crochet into the first stitch, so the stitch that our chain 1 comes out of, and then do 1 single crochet into the next stitch, and then do 1 single crochet into the third stitch along. And now we are going to do 2 single crochets both into the next stitch. So into this next one here, we will do 2 single crochets like that. And we're just going to keep repeating this all the way along. Do 1 single crochet into 3 stitches, and then 2 single crochets into the next, all the way along. So do 3 single crochets, 1 into each stitch, and then do 2 both into the next stitch, and just keep repeating that. So I have finished working that all the way around for round 2. So I did 2 single crochets into the last stitch at the end, and at the end of this round you should have 50 single crochets. And now we're going to finish off by working a slip stitch into the first single crochet that we worked. So there we have finished round 2 of our glove, and we are ready to move on to round 3. So to begin round 3, you want to chain 1 and turn, and round 3 is nice and easy. We're just going to do 1 single crochet into each stitch. So do 1 single crochet into the first stitch, and then 1 into the next, and 1 into the next, and just keep working that all the way around. So I have finished working those single crochets all the way around for round 3, and at the end of this round you should still have 50 single crochets. And now we're going to finish off by working a slip stitch into the first one that we worked. And now we can move on to round 4. So to begin round 4, you want to chain 1 and turn, and this chain 1 does not count as a stitch. So now in round 4, we're going to do 9 single crochets, or 1 single crochet into each of the first 9 stitches, and then 2 single crochets into the next stitch, all the way around. So we're doing 9 single crochets, then 2 into the next, then 9 single crochets and 2 into the next, all the way around. So do 1 single crochet into the first stitch, and the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, and ninth. So do 9 single crochets, and then into the next stitch you want to work 2 single crochets, both into this one, like that, and just keep repeating that. working that all the way around for round 4, and at the end of this round you should have 55 single crochets, and it's really important that you do have 55, so I would recommend that you quickly go back and double check, and then you want to finish off by working a slip stitch into the first stitch of the round. And there we have finished round 4, and that was our last increase round, and now we can move on to round 5. So we are now on to round 5, and for the next 10 rounds, so for rounds 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 and 14, so 10 rounds, we are just going to do 1 single crochet into each stitch, and that is going to create this part of our glove here. So we're doing 10 rounds of plain single crochet. So to begin each round you want to chain 1 and turn, and that chain 1 never counts as a stitch, and then do 1 single crochet into each stitch around, and then finish off with a slip stitch into the first single crochet that you worked. And in each round you should find that you have 55 single crochets. So you want to do 10 rounds of plain single crochet. I have finished working those rounds, so I have come to the end of round 14, and at the end of round 14 it's really important that you still have 55 stitches, so I would recommend going back and just double checking that you do have 55 at the end of round 14. And now at the end of that round, this is what you should have. So we have our cuff, which still needs to be sewn up, and then we have the start of the body of our glove. So for both the left and right glove, so for both hands, this is what you should have, rounds 1 to round 14. And now we can move on to round 15, and round 15 is going to be the start of our heart. So to begin round 15, you want to chain 1 and turn, and as usual that chain 1 does not count as a stitch. So now we are going to start off by working a number of single crochets. And now if you are making the left glove, so the glove for your left hand, then you want to work 18 single crochets. And if you are making the right glove, so for the glove for the right hand, then you want to work 36 single crochets. So you want to do 1 single crochet into 18 stitches for the left, and then 36 for the right. So go down into the first stitch here and work 1 single crochet, and do 1 into the next, and 1 into the next, and keep going until you have either 18 or 36, and I am making the left glove, so I'm just going to do 18. So I'm just coming to the end of working those single crochets, so I have 1 left to work. So if you are doing your left glove, then you should be on your 18th one now, and if you are doing the right, then you should be on the 36th one now, so you should have 1 left to work. And whilst working this last single crochet, we are going to change colours. So you want to go down into the next stitch and yarn over and pull up a loop. But usually we would yarn over and pull through these 2 loops here to complete the stitch, but we are not going to do that. We're going to drop the yarn that we are using and then take our new colour, so this is the colour of the heart, and place it over the end of your crochet hook and pull it through. And there we have finished that single crochet and changed colours at the same time. And now you do not want to fasten off the colour that you were using. So you do not want to fasten off the colour that you were using. You want to leave your base colour attached to the ball, and we can move on to the next stitch. So what we are going to do, so for both gloves, both the left and right glove, we are going to do one single crochet into this next stitch here. So go down into this next stitch using your heart colour, but whilst working this single crochet, it's really important that we work over the yarn that we just dropped, so that we work over this base yarn which is still attached to the ball. So make sure you are working over that yarn there. So start to work a single crochet in your heart colour, but usually we would yarn over and pull through these 2 loops to complete the stitch, but we are not going to do that. You want to drop the yarn that you are using and then take your base colour, so this is the yarn that we have just been working over, and yarn over and pull through both loops like that. And there we have done one single crochet into that stitch, working over the base colour, and then we have changed back to the base colour whilst working that stitch, and that is the start of the heart. So you want to do that for both the left and right glove. So it does seem a little bit complicated, but that is probably the most difficult stitch of the entire heart. And you do not want to fasten off this yarn, so do not cut the heart colour, leave it attached to the ball, and then we can pick it back up next round when we work the heart again. And you want to leave this yarn going down the inside of your glove, so make sure that that yarn is not coming on the outside of your glove, make sure that it's going down the inside. And now for the rest of round 15, you just want to work single crochets until you reach the end of the round. So for the left glove, that will be 36 single crochets, and for the right glove, that will be 18. So we're going back with our base colour and do one single crochet into the next stitch and one into the next, and work this until you reach where you started. So I have finished working those single crochets and I have reached where I started, and then you want to finish off by working a slip stitch into the first single crochet of the round. So finish off both the left and right glove with a slip stitch. And there we have finished round 15. So this is what it should look like that. So the heart is going to be in the middle for both of the gloves. It's just that the thumb hole is going to be on opposite sides, and that's why we have different number of stitches on either side of the heart for each glove. And now we can move on to round 16. So to begin round 16, you want to chain 1 and turn, and this chain 1 does not count as a stitch. And in the same way as last round, depending on what glove you are doing, you will need to work a different number of single crochets. So if you are doing the left glove, you will now need to do 35 single crochets in your base colour here. And if you are doing the right glove, so the glove for the right hand, then you will need to do 17. So 35 for the left and 17 for the right. So go down into the first stitch and do a single crochet, and then one into the next, and keep going until you have your right number. So I'm coming to the end of working those single crochets. So as I'm doing the left glove, I have the 35th one left to work, and if you were doing the right glove, you will have the 17th one left to work. So we have one more, and whilst working that single crochet, we are going to change back to the heart colour. So you want to go down into that single crochet there. So we're working one last single crochet, but stop right before the last step. So just as we did before, drop the yarn that you were using and then take your heart colour. So you want to pick it back up from where you dropped it at the end of last round, place it over the end of your hook and pull it through. And there we have changed colours. And now we are on to the heart for this round, and for both of the gloves we need to do 3 single crochets in this heart colour here. And whilst working those 3 stitches, it's really important that we work over the yarn that we just dropped, so work over the base colour. So you want to go down into the next stitch here and make sure you are working over the base colour and do 1 single crochet, and then do 1 single crochet into the second stitch along, and then do 1 single crochet into the third stitch. But whilst working this third single crochet, we are going to change back to the base colour. So we have started that third single crochet there in the heart colour, and now you want to drop that yarn and then pick up the base colour. So pull it tight and pick up that yarn that you have just been working over, and yarn over and pull it through both loops on your hook. And there we have worked the third single crochet and changed colours at the same time. And now before we work the next stitch, you want to make sure that this yarn here, so the heart colour, is pulled around to the inside of the glove. So it's really important that this yarn that we have just dropped is running down the inside of the glove. And now you want to do 1 single crochet into the next stitch using the base colour, and then do 1 into the next, and you can see we have still left our heart colour attached to the ball running down the inside of the glove. And just continue working single crochets until you reach where you started. And for the left glove that should be 17, and for the right glove that should be 35. Come to the end of round 16, so I finished working those single crochets, and now at the end of this round we are not going to be working a slip stitch, so do not work a slip stitch at the end of round 16, as we are going to be starting our thumb hole. So we are not going to be working a slip stitch at the end of this round. Work your last single crochet and then just leave it like that. And now we can move on to round 17. So to begin this round, you want to chain 1 and turn, and we're going to do the same thing as we did before, but for this round, for the left glove, you want to do 16 single crochets to start, and then you want to do 34 for the right. So 16 for the left and 34 for the right. So do 1 into this first stitch here, and then 1 into the next. And as I'm doing the left glove, I'm going to do 16, but if I was doing the right, I would be doing 34 single crochets now. So I have 1 last stitch to work, and whilst working this last single crochet, I'm going to drop the yarn that I was using and change back to my heart colour. So this is the yarn that we dropped in the previous round. So there we have done those single crochets, and now we can move on to the heart. So for this round, the heart is made up of 5 stitches. So we are doing 5 single crochets in the heart colour, and make sure that you are working over the base colour that we just dropped. So do 1 into the next stitch, working over that base colour, and do 1 into the next, and a third, fourth, and then pull this base yarn tight so that it doesn't bunch up, and do your 5th single crochet, and then change colours back to the base colour whilst working that 5th one, like that. And then do not cut the heart yarn, leave it attached to the ball running down the inside of the glove, so where this other end comes out here. So there we have finished the heart for round 17. And now you just want to do single crochets until you reach the end of the round. So for the left glove, that will now be 34 single crochets, and for the right, that will now be 16. So there I have finished working that for round 17, and at the end of this round we are not going to work a slip stitch again. You want to leave that as it is as we are creating our thumb hole. And now we can move on to round 18. So to begin this round you want to chain 1 and turn. And now for the left glove you want to start off by working 33 single crochets, and for the right glove you want to start off by working 15. Finished working those single crochets for the start of round 18, and then I changed colours whilst working the last one. So change to your heart colour whilst working the last single crochet. And now for the heart in this round we are going to do 7 single crochets. So you want to work 1 single crochet into this next stitch using the heart colour, and remember you need to be working over the yarn that you just dropped, and then do 1 into the next stitch and 1 into the next, and keep working over that yarn and keep going until you have 7. So I have 1 more to work, and I'm going to work that last single crochet, the 7th one, and drop the heart colour and change back to the base colour. So change colours back to the base colour whilst working the final one, and then make sure that that yarn that you dropped has been pulled around so that it's lying down the inside of the glove. And now you want to finish off by working single crochets in the base colour until you reach the end of the round. And for the left glove you should find that that is 15, and for the right glove you should find that that is 33 single crochets. So there I have come to the end of round 18, and at the end of this round we are not going to work a slip stitch, and now we can move on to round 19. So to begin round 19 you want to work some single crochets, and for the left glove you now want to work 14 single crochets using your base colour, and then change colours to the heart colour whilst working the 14th one. And for the right glove you now want to work 32 single crochets and change colours whilst working that 32nd one. So chain 1 and turn, and we're going to work those single crochets. So there I have worked those single crochets, and I changed back to the heart colour whilst working the last one. And now for round 19 for the heart we are going to do 9 single crochets. So go down into the first stitch here and do 1. And remember to work over the base colour and do 1 into each stitch until you have 9, and then change back to the base colour whilst working the 9th one. So like that. And there we have done the heart for round 19. And now make sure that that heart colour is going down the inside of the glove. And now you want to finish off by working 1 single crochet into each stitch until the end. And for the left glove that should be 32, and for the right glove that should be 14. So there I have finished working that along for round 19, and at the end of this round this is what you should have. So we're not working a slip stitch at the end of this round. So this is what our heart is looking like. It's getting bigger and bigger on the sides, and all of our colour changes can only be seen from the inside here. So now we can move on to round 20. So to begin round 20, you want to chain 1 and turn. And to begin round 20, if you are doing the left glove, you want to do 31 single crochets, changing colours whilst working that last one. And if you're doing the right glove, you want to work 13 single crochets and change colours whilst working the 13th one. So just keep working single crochets. So I have worked those single crochets, and I'm going to change back to the heart colour here whilst working the last one, like that. And now for the heart of this round, we are going to do 11 single crochets, working over the yarn that we just dropped. So like that. So there I have done those single crochets in the heart colour and changed colours back to the base colour whilst working the last one. And now make sure that this yarn has been pulled back and is now going down the inside of the glove. And now you just want to do single crochets until you reach the end. So there I have come to the end of round 20, and we are not going to do a slip stitch at the end of this round, and we can move on to round 21. So to begin this round, chain 1 and turn, and as usual that chain 1 does not count as a stitch. So to begin round 21 for the left glove, we are going to do 12 single crochets, and then for the right glove you want to do 30. So do 12 or 30. So I have one more to work. So I'm doing the left glove, so I'm going to work my 12th one and change to the heart colour at the same time. Like that. So change colours whilst working the last one. And now for the heart of this round, we're going to do 13 single crochets. There's 5, 6, 7. I have finished working those 13 single crochets, and I changed colours back to the base colour whilst working the last one. And now you want to finish off by working 1 single crochet into each stitch until you reach the end. So for the left glove that will be 30, and then for the right that will be 12. So keep working single crochets. We have come to the end of round 21, and you do not want to do a slip stitch at the end of this round, and we can move on to round 22. So to begin round 22, you want to chain 1 and turn, and you can probably guess what we're going to do. We're just going to work single crochets until you reach the heart area here. And for the left glove, that will be 30 single crochets, and for the right glove, that will be 12. So work your single crochets. So I have finished working those single crochets and I have changed colours whilst working the last one. And now for this round, we're going to do 13 single crochets for the heart. So 13 single crochets again in the heart colour. So it's the same as last round, so our heart is not going to get any wider. So go down into the first stitch and do one, and then one into the next, and then a third, and I am working over the yarn that I dropped here, and then one into the next, and keep going. Okay, so I have one single crochet left to work, and I'm going to change colours back to my base colour whilst working that 13th one, and then make sure that you bring the heart colour round to the inside. And now to finish off round 22, you want to do single crochets until you reach where you started, or until you reach the end of the round. So for the left glove that will now be 12, and for the right glove that will be 30. So I have finished working that all the way along for round 22, and at the end of that round this is what you should have. So you can see that our heart is really starting to form in the middle now. And now for the next two rounds, so for rounds 23 and 24, we are just going to repeat the last two rounds that we just did. So round 23 is going to be a repeat of round 21, and then round 24 is going to be a repeat of round 22. So you can go back in the video and re-watch those rounds as many times as you need to, but they are pretty simple. With those two rounds, we're not going to be increasing the heart any more times. So you basically just want to do single crochets until you reach the heart, and then change colours in the last stitch before the heart here, and then do 13 single crochets for the heart, changing colours whilst working the last single crochet of the heart, and then do one single crochet into each stitch until the end, and then repeat that again. But you can go back in the video and re-watch those two rounds as many times as you need to. So for round 23, repeat round 21, and then for round 24, repeat round 22. So there I have finished working those two rounds, so we have come to the end of round 24, and as you can see we have finished most of our heart. And now we can move on to round 25. So to begin this round, you want to chain one and turn, and as usual this does not count as a stitch. Now if you were working the left glove, you want to work 13 single crochets and change colours to the heart colour whilst working the 13th one, and if you're doing the right glove, you want to work 31 single crochets, changing colours whilst working that 31st one. So do 13 or 31 single crochets. So as I'm doing the left glove, I'm going to change colours whilst working this 13th one here. But if you're doing the right, do 31 and then change colours at the end. And now we are going to do 5 single crochets using our heart colour and work over the base colour. So you want to do 5 single crochets for both the left and right glove. So do 1, 2, 3, 4, pull this yarn tight, and then whilst working the 5th single crochet in the heart colour, change back to the base colour. So do 5 single crochets, changing back to the base colour whilst working the 5th one. And now we are going to do 1 single crochet into the next stitch here using our base colour. So go down into that next stitch there and do 1 single crochet using the base colour. But whilst working this single crochet, we are going to change back to our heart colour, and this is going to give us 1 little base colour stitch in the middle here. So we have started to work a single crochet, working over the heart colour, and now drop the base colour, pick the heart back up and yarn over and pull it through. And now you want to do 5 single crochets using the heart colour, working over the base colour. So do 1, 2, 3, 4, and then change back to the base colour whilst working the 5th one, like that. And there we have worked the heart for round 25. And now you want to finish off by doing single crochets in the base colour until the end of the round. So for the left glove that should now be 31, and for the right glove that should be 13. Working round 25, and at the end of that round this is what you should have. So you can see we are forming our heart shape, and we actually only have 1 more round now of our heart, and that is round 26. So to begin round 26 you want to chain 1 and turn. And now if you're doing the left glove, you want to work 32 single crochets, changing colours whilst working the last one. And if you were doing the right glove, you want to work 14 single crochets, changing colours whilst working the last one. So either work 32 or 14. I have worked those single crochets and changed colours whilst working the last one here, and now we're going to do 3 single crochets in the heart colour. So go and do 1 single crochet, and remember to always be working over this colour that you just dropped, and then do a second one, and then do a third, and whilst working the 3rd single crochet, change back to the base colour. And now we are going to do 3 single crochets in the base colour. So you want to do 1 into the next, and remember to work over the heart colour now. So we have done 1 and then a second one working over the heart colour, and then work a 3rd single crochet, and whilst doing this one change back to that yarn that you have just been working over. And now we are going to do 3 more single crochets in the heart colour. So do 1 into the next and work over the base yarn, and then 1 into the next, and then a 3rd, and whilst working the 3rd one, change back to the base colour. And now we have finished the heart, so we have done crocheting our heart. So you can fasten off this heart colour here. So fasten it off, leaving a long tail to weave in later, like that. And now for the rest of round 26, you just want to work single crochets, 1 into each stitch until you get to the end. And for the left glove that should be 14, and for the right that should be 32. There we have come to the end of round 26. So this is what you should have at the end of that round, and we have finished our heart. And now we can move on to round 27. So for round 27, you want to chain 1 and turn, and this chain 1 does not count as a stitch, and we are just going to do 1 single crochet into every single stitch around. So for both the left and right glove, you just want to do the exact same thing from now on. We only had the difference in those 2 rounds when it came to the heart. So we're just going to do 1 single crochet into each stitch around. So I have finished working that all the way around for round 27, and at the end of that round you should have worked 55 single crochets. And now at the end of this round we are going to be finishing off our thumb hole here. So what you want to do is, once you work your last single crochet, you want to chain 1, and then you want to go over to the opposite side here and work a slip stitch into the first single crochet of the round. So go down into this first single crochet and yarn over and pull through both loops on your hook. And there we have finished our thumb hole, and depending on what glove you are making, so the left or the right glove, you should find that the thumb hole is on the opposite side, and the thumb hole sits sort of on the back like this. So when you lay your glove flat, it should be that the heart is in the middle here, and then the thumb hole should just be slightly around the back here. And there we have finished round 27, and we can move on to round 28. So for the next 5 rounds, so for rounds 28, 29, 30, 31 and 32, so 5 rounds, we are just going to do rounds of plain single crochet. So to begin each round, you want to chain 1 and turn, and that chain 1 never counts as a stitch. So chain 1 and turn, and then we're going to do 1 single crochet into each stitch around. So you want to start off round 28 by going down into the little chain 1 that we just made at the end of round 27. But as that chain 1's always a little bit tricky to get into, I'm just going to go down into the actual chain 1 space and do 1 single crochet, and then do 1 single crochet into each stitch. And then when you get to the end of the round, work a slip stitch into the first stitch that you worked, and then start again. And in each round you should have 56 single crochets, so there should be 56 in each round, as we added 1 extra little stitch in there with that chain 1. So keep working that until you have 5 rounds of plain single crochet. Finished working all of those rounds, and now we can move on to round 33. So to begin round 33, you want to chain 1 and turn, and this chain 1 does not count as a stitch. So we are going to start off by working 6 single crochets. So go down into the first stitch and work 1, and then do 1 into the next, and the third one along, and the 4th, 5th and 6th. So there we have 6 single crochets, and now over the next 2 stitches we are going to work a stitch called 2 single crochets together. And when we do 2 single crochets together, we are doing 2 single crochets, 1 into each stitch, but we are not going to complete either of them, and then we're going to complete them both together at the same time. So we are turning 2 stitches into 1. So go down into the next stitch and yarn over and pull up a loop. So start to work a single crochet, but do not complete that single crochet there, and then go down into the next stitch and start to work a second single crochet, but do not complete this one either. And then you should have 3 loops on your hook, and you want to yarn over and pull through all 3. And there we have done 2 single crochets together, and we have turned 2 stitches into 1. And you just want to keep repeating this all the way around for round 33. you want to do 1 single crochet into 6 stitches and then 2 single crochets together over the next 2 stitches, then 1 single crochet into 6 stitches and then 2 single crochets together. So this is our one and only decrease round. So we are going to be just taking in the top of our gloves just a little bit. We're going to be cutting out 7 stitches, and that is going to make it so that the top of our gloves isn't so loose and baggy. But if you wanted it bigger, so if you didn't want to have such a tight fit around the top of the gloves, then you don't have to work this round. You can just work 1 round of plain single crochet instead. But I would recommend doing this round 33, and just taking out a few stitches. So continue to work 6 single crochets and then 2 single crochets together for round 33. I'm just coming to the end of round 33, so to finish off this round, work a slip stitch into the first single crochet that you worked. And there we have finished round 33, and we're ready to move on to round 34. So for the next 4 rounds of our gloves, so for rounds 34, 35, 36 and 37, you just want to do 1 single crochet into each stitch, and that is going to form this last little section up here. So we're doing 4 rounds of plain single crochet. So to begin each round, chain 1 and turn, and then do 1 single crochet into each stitch. And in each round you should find that you have 49 single crochets. And if you wanted your gloves to be longer, then you could just add additional rounds of plain single crochet after round 37. But I finished mine at the end of round 37. And then you want to fasten off, so when you get to the end of that last round, fasten off, so pull your yarn out and your hook and cut your yarn, leaving a long tail to weave in later. And there we will have finished our glove. And now you want to go ahead and make the other one. So if you made the left glove, then you want to now go ahead and make the right, and vice versa. So make both of your gloves. And then the last thing that you need to do is weave all of your ends nice and securely into the inside of your glove, and then sew up the cuff here. So if you have a look at our glove, this is my one that I'm still working on, we have the cuff, which is open at the bottom here where we haven't joined it yet, and we are going to work slip stitches and join all the way up this opening. And now if you left a long enough end when you made your slip knot, then you can use this end to sew up the cuff. But if you didn't leave a very long end, then just leave it and take some more yarn and use that yarn to sew it up. So you can sew this up in whatever way you like. You could use a yarn needle or a crochet hook, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to work this kind of like the slip stitch all the way along. So I'm going to go into the opposite stitch and then pull this end through. I have left quite a long end when I made my slip knot, so I'm going to use this end to sew it up, and then I'm going to come back around to this side here and pull it through, and then I'm going to go through the next stitch and the same stitch on the opposite side and pull this end through, and I'm just going to keep working like this all the way up the edge. And then once you have done that, once you have gone all the way up the opening, you can weave that end nice and securely into the inside, and we have finished. So here we have our fingerless gloves. So that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it and found it easy to follow. Please make sure to subscribe to my channel for more crochet videos. And in the description box below this video, I will leave a link to where you can find the written pattern for these gloves, and I have the written pattern set out where I have the left glove and the right glove. So if you think you would find it easier to have the heart section where we have the left and the right glove being different laid out separately, it might be a good idea to just go and look at the written pattern. So I will have a link to that in the description box below this video, and I will also leave links to my Instagram and Twitter accounts. So I always like to post updates and pictures on there, especially Instagram, and I would love to see photos of your crochet work on there as well. So if you make these gloves, please send me a photo. I always love seeing photos of your crochet work. And thank you again for watching. Bye!